Today on the Euclid Festival Show, I'm very excited to have Elouise Abbott, makeup artist, but not just makeup artists are so integral to TV and film. She's worked in film and TV and worked on Star Wars: Last Jedi, and now is teaching the makeup artists of the future. So my first question to you, Elouise, is when did you discover your love for filmmaking and wanted to be a makeup artist?
Wow. So I child of the 80s. So I think films when I was growing up was huge. You know, we had all of the best. We had Indiana Jones, we had Star Wars, we had all of those kind of like cool 80s films that were just really exciting. So I always loved kind of media and entertainment. And I always knew that I wanted to do makeup. So when I went to college, I went to train as a makeup artist, realised that actually there wasn't really any courses. I think we had brush strokes in London and you had to spend out quite a lot of money. I think it was like something like £10,000 in 1998 and you couldn't get loans and things. So I trained as a beauty therapist because that had makeup elements in it. And then I kind of fell into beauty for a while. And eventually I've managed to retrain and do my makeup degree in Taunton University Centre, Somerset. And that's where I really sort of started to kind of realise that I could develop all of these makeup skills and kind of special effects, really kind of delving into things like prosthetics and character work, really. Which was really exciting because I'd always had like a bit of a love for like the theatre as well. And so that was really, really exciting. So from kind of that really retraining as a degree, I really kind of started to push myself out into kind of independent film. So that's where I came and met you, which was very exciting. And I think that was one of the first film I worked on, the first independent film, and obviously that then went into my CV. Actually having independent, you know, film roles on my CV, I then went to work on Wolf Hall as a trainee, and that's where it really kind of kicked in how exciting kind of film productions can be and the importance of makeup across the board and how that kind of ties in with like costume and how it kind of helps and supports the actors to kind of get into their roles and things like that. So that was really my kind of like first beginnings, and then I just kind of kept going.
Amazing. So that was the journey to independent film. How did your journey lead into studio film projects? When we spoke before we started the interview, you mentioned that you got involved in Star Wars: The Last Jedi. How do you make that impression? How did you get your name out there to get involved in a project of that magnitude?
I was really, really lucky. So we had a tutor called Jason who came to teach us sculpting and moulding. And that was something that actually I really, really got into while I was training, is I realised how important mould making is. Okay, and that kind of like sculpting. So I actually went to work in the creature effects department. So I was a mold maker, and that meant that I was more than makeup. It was more kind of fiberglassing, casting out creatures, and really kind of working in that kind of whole team process where you have you know, when we're thinking about the creatures that are designed for films like Star Wars, you have this whole process. So you initially have like concept designers who are like illustrating and working with the director to kind of get these kind of concept ideas for their creatures. So, you know, when you're thinking about like that kind of huge casino you know, scene, you've got like almost 100, you know, aliens in there. So that was really, really exciting. Now, once you've got those concept designs, they go to a sculptor a sculptor is going to like, you know, kind of recreate that in clay. And then it goes to the mold maker. Okay, so then that will be molded so that we can cast out skins and things. It's a team that are actually, you know, literally making these skins and things come alive. They're moving. You've got costumers, fabricators, puppeteers, all these kind of people, you know, not to mention like painters, finishers, and then all the hair work and things that come in afterwards. You know, there's lots of, you know, if we think about Chewie, we've got like a full wig suit, you know, that's quite incredible. You know, and we worked on Favier, the kind of like large racing horse cat, you know, which was an incredible like 20-foot sculpture, you know, it was absolutely huge. And Esteban flocked with his team, like, you know, actually like flocked that whole creature and made it look like fur, and it had like separate heads made that were like mechanized so that the face would move and things like that. So it's really, really exciting actually to kind of just think you fit into that process, and every bit is so important, every, you know, and everything is so communicated and so checked, and, you know, finding out what those characters need. But fun.
I suppose it's like if you were literally creating some kind of creature, because when you see it on screen, it's so like and stuff. I mean, for me, you were talking there when I was growing up, films like Labyrinth and The Dark Crystal, they depended on puppetry and animatronics and stuff. And
absolutely,
one of the good things about this, I mean, there's loads of things about these new Star Wars films, how they compare with the older ones, but they actually went back to the older films' techniques rather than, say, the prequel films were dependent on, you know, they can create it in the computer. But I think what's shown with these sequel films is if you create it in real life and you can light it in real life, it looks so much better in some ways than put it into a computer.
Absolutely. No, I think that's it. And I think the practical skills and the practical elements are like they age really well, don't they? I think that's something that's really important. You know, they're consistently good. And Neil Scanlon, of course, who headed up the creature department for Star Wars, his background is Jim Henson's Creature Shop. So it's quite funny. So actually, when you're looking back at all of those films, that team is still out there doing those like creature effects. And I know we had like the Dark Crystal reboot after, and there's lots of people that kind of went to work on that as well. So, you know, it is quite funny that that's quite linked. But yeah, I think that kind of practical effects is still really quite exciting, isn't it? And I think digital effects as well, they are quite exciting. I think it is quite nice that things are getting quite combined. I think, you know, it's like I think there was like a huge fear at one point that everything was just going to be, you know, generated, a bit of CGI, and almost like that's just like a quick fix, and it's not a quick fix. It's actually, you know, quite expensive, isn't it? It's very labor intensive, it's very costly, and sometimes the practical effects can be so effective, and I wouldn't always say kind of like simple, but you know, kind of exciting as well.
And definitely, and sort of cost saving away. You heard earlier, I played you a clip for this interview of Nicholas Meyer who was talking about Star Trek 6 Discovery, and he was on about a scene that it was the scene where Kirk and McCoy were on trial, and there's loads of Klingons and stuff. One thing he said, Christopher Plummer in that scene is, in your experience, is it's making sure when you're going a closer detail on somebody's makeup that it doesn't look fake or anything. How have you learned over the years to make that better and better? You know, it's better to photograph when you're going in closer detail.
I think I think it's about practicing and having really, honing your skills, really understanding, color theory and how you're going to color those pieces to kind of blend into the skin, and being able to make seamless edges and things like that when it comes to applying prosthetics and things. And I think it is quite interesting, he was saying that the pieces needed to be adjusted. I think sometimes with makeup it is less is more. You can use your painting skills so much. You can change a face just through kind of light and shade and things like that. So actually sometimes when you do have those prosthetic pieces, they don't need to be huge, they don't need to be a heavy mask. If you look at some of the the best makeups, they're almost like they are so subtle and so beautiful. I think I always get when you look at things like Bombshell and has it Heroes work and things like that, or oh, I'm trying to think, what was the name of the film with The Darkest Hour with Winston Churchill? Those beautiful.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah,
so that was amazing, because I always remember watching that and thinking, that's Gary Oldman, they've done it so well.
Yeah.
And the one was Colin Farrell as the Penguin in the Batman.
Yeah.
Because it was such an amazing, but again, it's that combination between a brilliant actor and a brilliant makeup artist.
Yeah.
The actor makes that makeup come alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, even that kind of Batman thing, the old Joker with Jack Nicholson, that was, amazing, isn't it? Because it's so clearly Jack Nicholson, but really embodying the Joker. And it's not a huge piece, it's kind of subtle, really, but it just gives so much.
So going back to I don't know, this would be each makeup artist that works in films got their sort of style, their influences. Are there any films that inspired you as a makeup artist in the style you work in?
I think I don't know, that's really hard actually, because I think as a makeup artist you do have to be just like really flexible, don't you? I think more than anything I really like realism. I think if it was the makeups that I would be excited about, I think it would be, things like Mrs. Doubtfire,
that's amazing.
Neil's makeups, all the Tim Burton ones. I love, the Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, all of those kind of things. I think, really kind of heavily influenced me when I was younger. So I love when you get the opportunity to go into that kind of like more avant-garde character style. That's lovely. I do really like period drama as well. So I think apart from kind of like prosthetics and special effects, I think it's the hair as well that's really important. I really kind of love creating like period hair, applying wigs, making wigs, applying facial hair and that kind of thing. So and I think that kind of character work is so much more subtle actually, subtly aging someone or like applying makeup that you can't really see. That kind of thing is also really challenging and fun as well. So yeah, I think it's a bit of everything, and I think to work in film and TV you kind of have to be a bit like that as well, don't you? Because whatever you create is going to be according to someone's vision, so you need to have a really strong skill set across the board, or and if you don't have those skills already, you need to be working within a team where somebody does have those skills, or you need to be able to kind of learn quickly, adapt, develop your skills, have ideas, problem solve, like really quickly problem solve. I think good skill to have.
And it's what advice would you give to someone they're thinking of being involved in a TV or film project? Maybe to give some examples here is how do you deal with like an under pressure situation? Because I imagine there's different call times we hear about on films that, you know, they get there at 5 o'clock in the morning, they've got to be on set at 9 o'clock. What's that like as a process? Say like, you know, with a large scene with extras.
Okay, so first things first, I would be like, always have your kit packed. And when that call comes in to say, are you ready at 3 o'clock in the morning? Yes, you are. Okay, I think that's like the first bit of getting in. It's never going to be convenient. It's never going to be easy. You won't know where you're going. Your call sheets probably, you know, you're going to start panicking by maybe 8:30 when you haven't received your call sheet. And that is because they haven't wrapped for the evening yet and that call sheet's not made. Check in with your line manager, you know, check in with the person that's hired you. See what kit if there's anything specific that you need. And when you arrive, if you're starting out as a trainee, you know, go introduce yourself to people. Your job is mainly to, you know, you're going to be looking after quite a lot of continuity and things like that, but you're also looking after the artist there. You're making sure that everything kind of runs smoothly and everyone else's job is a little bit easier. So, you know, make sure that you can make a good cup of tea, make sure that you can check in with everybody and everyone's okay. And if you don't know what you need to do, just check in with someone because everyone's going to be willing to help you. Like, don't be scared to just go, actually, I'm not quite sure what to do now. What shall I do? Be professional. So when you are talking to people, remember that, you know, it's work. You know, keep it nice and professional, but be friendly and communicate, and make sure that you stay away from any entrances and you're not in the way because it's very yeah, I think that's it.
Amazing. So going back to, are there any examples you can give of any film and TV things that we would have heard of that you've been involved in that you can share sort of an experience from?
Yeah, so I've worked on a few different things. So I worked on Wolf Hall, which was like my first film and television experience. That was quite exciting. And things like The White Princess, Mary Queen of Scots. So quite a lot of kinds of period dramas really, which has been really exciting. Yeah, and I think very, very busy actually. The amount of people that kind of come through the crowd room. You know, and then I've been really lucky to kind of work on smaller, like slightly more intimate productions as well, that are like kind of more independent. So worked on things like Fanged Up and The Creeping. So I don't think The Creeping's quite out yet. And I like to just, you know, kind of pop in wherever I can for dailies. So, you know, work, you know, anything I can really. So things like Mallory Towers, and yeah, it's quite tricky kind of keeping your hands in now as a like kind of educator. So like I teach at Exeter College now. So I'm always like, when I'm in my holidays and when I've got my weekend spare and things like that, I love to hop onto a project. Yeah.
Brilliant. And what has that been like teaching, say, the makeup artists of the future? How has that been a progression for you?
I think it's really, really exciting. I mean, it's been a bit of a challenge. So I work with 16 to 19-year-olds. So 16 to 19-year-olds keep you on your toes. They keep you busy, keep you young. But it's really, I've been there for 7 years now. So It's actually really exciting seeing them graduate from Exeter College, and then they progress to uni, and now they're kind of, you know, I'm starting to see my students out in industry, and I'm starting to recommend them for jobs and things like that as well, which is really, really, really nice to see. You know, you can see that kind of next generation, and I think it's nice to share all the information, you know, all those things that you might have learned, you know, through kind of time, practice, you know, all those like little bits that you find out on a job, and you're able to share those with someone and make their journey hopefully a little bit easier, and you know, make sure that they've got all the skills that they need. Yeah, so I love that. That's really exciting.
Amazing. And couple of final questions. I was just wondering that we were talking about earlier about the start, the Last Jedi, where you worked on. Obviously, when you worked with me, there were prosthetic makeup with certain actors. What has been the most complicated prosthetic makeup that you think you've done, or just one you have done?
Oh, I don't know. I think probably more of my kind of, I did a character for the Battle of the Brushes. So there's a makeup artist trade show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they have like a competition. It's called Battle of the Brushes for graduates. And I think that was like a really kind of exciting prosthetic makeup to apply. And I'd kind of like sculpted like a whole headdress and things like that, so made costume and things to go with it. In the creature effects, because that was literally kind of like creatures, it was literally kind of, you know, casting out big old aliens, basically giant slugs, that kind of thing. So it wasn't so kind of like makeup based, you know, someone was going to kind of climb into that, and then the makeup team would deal with that on set. So I was way more pre-production. I think some of like the proudest work that I've done for like prosthetics has actually been like really, really like small pieces. So I designed makeup for like a short film called My Brother is a Mermaid, which was incredible. So that was an LGBTQ film, and it won the Iris Prize, and that was really, really exciting. And just making really like tiny, like small scales, and again, it wasn't huge, but it really worked, and I was really, really, really proud of that. Yeah. And I think that's quite nice to kind of have from start to finish.
Well, I'm sure this interview is going to inspire future makeup artists and go on to some amazing projects and your amazing future projects. Thank you very much for your time today.